The human world is a tapestry woven with countless lives, each thread following its own unique, often predictable path. But sometimes, a thread snags, unravels, or vanishes into the unknown, leaving behind a chilling void. Today, we plunge into 3 such astonishing cases, stories of individuals discovered in places so bizarre, under circumstances so inexplicable, they defy all logic. Prepare to question everything you thought you knew about disappearance, discovery, and the dark secrets that can lurk just beneath the surface of everyday life. Our first journey takes us to Durban, South Africa, and the unsettling fate of Sandal Sibiya. On May 10, 2019, Sandal, a 53-year-old construction worker, found himself facing the mundane inconvenience of a broken leg. The trip to Mahatma Gandhi Memorial Hospital was standard procedure, long waits, X-rays, and the prospect of a cast. Sandal's X-ray revealed a broken femur, requiring an overnight stay before a transfer to another facility for specialized orthopedic care. He was told to rest, to prepare for his next steps. But Sandal Sibiya would never make it to that transfer. When hospital staff arrived at his room, paperwork in hand, Sandal was gone. A man with a severely broken leg, incapable of swift movement, had vanished. Security guards, usually vigilant, had no answers. Every floor, every room was searched. The staff were baffled. How could a patient with such a debilitating injury simply disappear from a secure medical facility? The incident made no sense. Local authorities were immediately notified, and a missing persons case was opened. A small-scale search commenced across Durban, but Sandal Sibiya had seemingly evaporated into thin air. Theories emerged, each more improbable than the last, but no one had any real leads. The hospital staff, deeply concerned, continued to wonder how their patient had slipped away. Perhaps, they thought, they should have looked closer. Perhaps, they should have checked directly under their noses. 10 days after Sandal's inexplicable disappearance, on May 24, 2019, an unbearable stench began to permeate the Mahatma Gandhi Memorial Hospital. It intensified, growing more putrid with each passing hour, until it led staff to a seldom-used storeroom. There, a horrifying discovery awaited them. Fluid dripped ominously from the ceiling, leaving telltale stains on the floor below. Cautiously, staff pushed aside the ceiling tiles, shining their flashlights into the dark space above. What they found would haunt them: a decomposing body. It was Sandal Sibiya. The revelation sent shockwaves through the hospital and the community. How did a healthy 53-year-old man, admitted for a broken leg, end up dead and decomposing in the hospital's ceiling, a space accessible only to staff? The hospital maintained it had impeccable security, yet Sandal was found in a place where no patient should ever be. Investigators initially speculated he might have been a mentally ill patient, a theory quickly disproven. Sandal was a construction worker, not a psychiatric patient. Despite assurances of a thorough investigation and promises of severe action against any wrongdoing, the circumstances of Sandal's death and how his body came to be in such a bizarre location remain a haunting mystery to this day. Our next case transports us to San Francisco and the chilling story of Brian Egg. Brian, a 65-year-old local of the vibrant Soma neighborhood, maintained close ties with his family. Communication was key. Regular calls and visits kept them connected. In late May or early June of 2018, Brian, known for his community spirit, was seen tidying up alleyways in his neighborhood. Neighbors watched him return to his home. That was the last time anyone saw Brian Egg alive. A month later, Brian's brother, Devin, tried to call. He was met not with Brian's familiar voice, but with an answering machine. The voice on the recording was not Brian's. Perplexed, Devin called again. This time, a man answered, identifying himself as Nate. Nate claimed Brian was out walking his dog and would call back. The call never came. Devin, initially unconcerned, soon found his unease growing. By late July, Brian's absence became a palpable concern for his Soma neighbors. Brian was a known figure, and his sudden disappearance was alarming. Multiple calls were made to the police, expressing fears that Brian might be injured or missing inside his home. Officers visited the house, but found no sign of Brian, and no one answered the door. Police concluded Brian had simply gone out of town, dismissing the neighbors' concerns. But the residents of Soma knew better. Scott Free, a longtime neighbor, took to social media. spreading word of Brian's disappearance. The community rallied, vowing to keep a watchful eye on Brian's home. Their vigilance paid off. Neighbors soon reported seeing two strangers, young men they'd never seen before, frequently coming and going from Brian's house. These weren't Brian's friends or family. The community again urged police to investigate, and Brian's sister, now deeply worried, added her voice to the growing chorus of concern. On August 4th, officers made a third attempt to check Brian's home. Again, silence. But after the police left, the neighbors witnessed something extraordinary. An obscene amount of soap suds began to leak from under Brian's front door. The pungent smell of bleach filled the air. Later, the strangers were seen painting over a section of the front of the home, including part of the door, as if to conceal something. On August 7th, Brian's sister officially reported him missing. A week later, on August 14th, neighbors called police yet again, reporting a private crime scene cleanup company parked outside Brian's home. This time, authorities responded immediately. They arrested 52-year-old Robert McCaffrey, one of the men seen cohabitating in Brian's home, who was found with over $100,000 in cash, allegedly to pay the cleanup crew. 2 days later, 39-year-old Lance Silva, the other person of interest, was also apprehended. Both men were charged with identity theft and financial crimes, suspected of using Brian's credit cards. But Brian's whereabouts remained a mystery. On August 17, 2018, 4 days into a meticulous search of Brian's home, police made a gruesome discovery. Tucked away in a storage room beneath a staircase, a single fish tank emitted an unbearable stench. Inside, investigators found the dismembered torso of a body, beheaded and with hands removed. It was all that remained of Brian Ig. His death was ruled a homicide. Robert McCaffrey and Lance Silva were charged with homicide, identity theft, elder abuse, and other financial crimes. Yet, in a shocking turn, the San Francisco District Attorney's Office later dropped all charges against both men, pending further investigation. Both were eventually released. To this day, no one has been convicted for Brian Egg's horrific murder. His killer, or killers, remain at large. Our final case takes us to the tranquil, seemingly ordinary rural farm town of Ruinerwold in the Netherlands, a place where everyone knows everyone, and secrets are hard to keep. Or so they thought. In October 2020, a local cafe, De Castellan, welcomed a new customer. He was scrawny, unable to make eye contact, and seemed almost otherworldly. He ordered 5 pints of beer and drank them all alone, leaving the staff bewildered. The next evening, he returned, equally strange, desperately wanting to speak. Finally, he cracked. Prompted by the cafe staff's concern and the beer in his belly, the young man blurted out an astonishing secret. He claimed he hadn't been outside for 9 years. He had 4 brothers and 1 sister, living on a nearby farm. He was the eldest, and he wanted to escape their way of life. Cafe owner Chris Westerbeek, unsure whether to believe the seemingly outlandish story or dismiss it as drug-induced delusion, decided to err on the side of caution. He called the police. The young man, later identified as 25-year-old Jan, claimed he'd been confined due to a religion or cult. The next day, police acted on Chris's tip, visiting the remote farmhouse on Buitenwijzerweg. Hidden 200 yards from the nearest road, what they found defied belief. Inside a small, unassuming room on the ground floor, they discovered an entire family living in seclusion. 6 people, who initially claimed to be adults, were later found to be between the ages of 12 and 15. They had been taught to lie about their age. These children had never been registered, born in secret, completely cut off from the outside world. Police quickly apprehended 67-year-old Gerrit Jan van D., believed to be the father of the children. They also tracked down an Austrian man, Joseph B., who had rented the farmhouse. Investigators alleged the 2 men were operating a doomsday cult, isolating the family from society. The BBC reported that Gerrit had allegedly mistreated most of the children, though no formal complaints were filed. Gerrit was charged with money laundering, unlawful detention, and other offenses. Joseph B. faced charges of kidnapping and money laundering. Authorities stated both men knew their actions were punishable by law, with Gerrit described as the evil genius and Joseph his partner in crime. During the trial, horrifying details emerged. Investigators found evidence of extreme mistreatment, including forced prayer for weeks, sometimes with only water to drink. Children described physical punishments, from being beaten with sticks to being forced into ice baths until they lost consciousness. These punishments, the prosecution alleged, were to drive out bad spirits, or when Jarrett deemed them unclean. Evidence of these claims was even found in Jarrett's own diary entries. The investigation into the Runerwold family's isolation is ongoing.